Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Today we got a few little topics to go through and we're going to get on with the first one. You might not like it though. The rest of them hopefully you'll enjoy better though. Chelsea step up their bid to sign fantastic player. They're now fully focused on signing him. I'm sure you can see down below we're apparently stepping up for Nathan Ake. Seen a lot of reports that are saying that Nathan Ake is going to be the top target for the defence. You know, there's the Ligt, Bayern, we'll get into that later in the video. I've got some news there, but there's a heavy focus. It says we're going to turn our focus to the City man. Koundé, obviously Barcelona, things like that, that might not be happening. We're going to need two signings at the back, so hopefully Ligt. We'll get to those updates later, but Nathan Ake is the other one, and obviously I think Tuchel prefers him because he can play on that left hand side, a little bit more versatile. Koundé would probably be a central in that back line and Ligt on the right / centre. But apparently, yeah, we're stepping up. It's going to be Nathan Ake, and for about 50 million, you know, to me that's almost like double what I'd like to pay if we were getting Ake. If we were getting Ake for 25-30 million, I'd go, you know what, not the dream signing, but Tuchel probably wants him. I can understand it, but for 50 million, there's got to be better signings out there, surely. You know, Koundé's not that much more expensive, and I'd fully rate Koundé, and he's younger. So I know Ake has probably developed a good bit since leaving Chelsea, going to Bournemouth, going to Man City. But if you were going to sign him, I don't think he's that good of a player. Personally, let me know what you guys think on this one. So the next report coming from Didier, and he says, Ligt would like the Premier League more than Bundesliga. So before we sort of go further into this article, there's plenty of reports at the moment going around saying basically Bayern have agreed terms, you know, verbal agreement in place with Ligt, all this sort of stuff. What you'll notice is they're almost entirely German-based reporters. And I know someone might throw back at me and say, well, Chelsea-based reporters are the ones that are saying Ligt's going to Chelsea. That's actually not true. So many from Italy that cover Juventus heavily, obviously being the biggest club out there. It's the Italian ones that are saying Ligt kind of wants Chelsea. You know, we got Christian Falk of Bayern. He says Bayern know that Chelsea is also interested in Ligt. Chelsea can offer a higher transfer fee, but Bayern know that the player would prefer to move to Munich if the clubs can agree on a deal. These German reporters are heavily biased, and they're trying to push it so that they get, you know, this obviously young elite talent of a defender. But it seems to be false. It says, you know, Didier, if you're aware of him, you know, he's usually accurate when it comes to Italian stuff. And it says that Ligt prefers a move to the Premier League this summer rather than the Bundesliga. So hopefully this report will put your minds at ease a little bit, because I know a lot of people are panicking, saying, we've lost Ligt, we lost Koundé, Dembele, Rafinha, it was going awfully. Whereas, you know, it might not be going that bad. It's just paper talk coming from these sort of German outlets at the moment, the Spanish outlets with all the other ones at Barcelona as well. So take everything with a pinch of salt when you're reading these, but I think Ligt's still looking good. Now this one is interesting. It says Chelsea attacker who returned early to pre-season now wanted by another Premier League side, and that's Callum Hudson-Odoi. And apparently he's being looked at as the next potential addition to Newcastle under their new ownership, of course, looking to do big things over the next few years. And I think personally, if you told him, if Callum Hudson-Odoi got the chance to go to Newcastle in this team that's on a resurgence and it's going to be looking at top half football at least this year, you know, maybe pushing Europe with all the money they're going to spend, I think Callum would take that. You know, that's a potentially very big move, and who knows where Newcastle are in 3-4 years time when his contract would be coming to an end, should he have signed with them. He would be potentially in European slots playing for a team that would put faith in him. You know, they'd play him week in, week out. He'd be playing out on the wing where he wants to be, maybe not so much as a wing back as he's been at Chelsea. So for Callum, this one makes a lot of sense. I still, you know, still only 21 years old, the guy's so young, coming back from that big injury. I still think Callum has a lot to offer. If he isn't pushing for, you know, a first team guaranteed starting spot, then I think we should keep Callum, absolutely. There's no point selling him now because we probably wouldn't get a crazy amount of money. I don't think there's a fee mentioned in this article anywhere, so, you know, we don't know how much roughly he'd be going for. But we're not going to get that much because he's not really featuring at Chelsea. The only thing there is the potential of him coming good one day. But for me, Chelsea, keep Callum Hudson-Odoi, see how he does this year, give him more chances. If we do move to a back four and we have traditional wingers up front, he needs to be one of those wingers, because when he's on his day and he's creating, he's a brilliant player. So for me, we shouldn't be letting this one happen, but Newcastle might be coming and throwing their money about, which could be a problem for Chelsea, because I could see Callum being tempted by that. Then we have news of another one coming from Gianfranco, and he says Todd Bowley will have a meeting on Armando Broja's future. It's one of the more pressing player exit situations with offers arriving. Tuchel wants him for a pre-season, but no assurances on his Chelsea future. So I imagine it says, more the pressing player exits because there's so many offers arriving. It seems like left, right and centre every day there's another club. It's Everton, Newcastle, West Ham, there's so many of these different clubs in the Premier League, which I'm sure is a move he'd favour. The Premier League is the league everyone sort of wants to be in at the moment. And he's getting these offers left, right and centre, so I know we want to keep him, but he could be pushing for an exit if, we don't start using him this year. So Tuchel wants to see him. He's going to need some assurances. It says he's got no assurances on his future. So this year we need to make a statement with Broja and say, look, you'll end up playing, 15, 20, 25 games. Next year, if you can push on, you can be the starting guy, because he needs a path to that first team slot. Otherwise he will go, and he will shine at a club like West Ham, Newcastle, Everton, take your pick. One of them I'm sure he would do brilliantly at. And just a few other updates here on potential outgoings from Gianfranco. Ian Maatsen rejected Feyenoord because he wants a Premier League Championship loan, if not a Chelsea chance. Ian Maatsen playing on that left hand side, I think could be a good backup this year. We got Chilwell there that's gonna play every week, but if he's potentially has another bad injury or is unfit, Ian Maatsen, he seems like a solid player. I think he could do it. Next up, clubs similarly interested in Gallagher. Granovskaya had him valued at 50 million, which I think is a pretty good move. If someone comes and offers 50, you'd have to consider it. But Chelsea need to keep, these West Hams, Leeds, whoever it might be, we need to keep them at bay by putting a big price tag on him. I think 50 million is a good sort of barrier to entry for looking at Gallagher, because he did look like a top player this last season. And this one, Levi Colwill attracting Premier League interest, Ake signing might force an exit. And that for me, we talked about Ake in the beginning of the video, but for me, if we're going to go and buy Ake for 50 million, which will ultimately mean Levi Colwill goes, that would be a massive failure for me. If we go and do that, Ake is an aging player, he's not going to be around forever. Not one that I really think is up to scratch to play for us in the first team anyway. I would rather, take a gamble on Colwill, because I feel like we're taking a gamble on Nathan Ake. Yet Colwill will be so much cheaper, no transfer fee, wages will be so much less, and it's showing, the academy players that there is a path to this first team. If you're good enough, you go out on loan for a year or two, and you're at the, right stage in your career, you can make it at Chelsea. So for me, this would be a big mistake if Chelsea let this bottom one happen. Then a little update here saying the departure of Peter Cech from Chelsea could make transfer deal collapse. And Fabrizio Romano has this update saying Slonina always performing at a top level in the MLS. There was a verbal agreement in place with Chelsea for 10 million euros. Chicago Fire waiting to see if after the departure of Cech, the deal will collapse again. Slonina was already really close to Chelsea in January. It didn't happen. Now it's happened again, where we got really close to signing him. I guess Cech was, the guy that thought we should be getting him. And apparently now that he's gone, it might not be happening. And that for me, 10 million euros isn't too much money to be spending. Todd Bowley's talking about 200 million this year. So spending 10 million euros isn't ridiculous. To get a young goalkeeper that's performing well out in the MLS, for me, Chelsea would be mugs not to take this guy on the recommendation of Peter Cech. Let's just be real, one of the greatest goalkeepers, if not the greatest goalkeeper of the Premier League era. So, for me, if Chelsea are going to, just because he was a Cech target, not go for this guy, it'd be really silly. I think this is one that for 10 million euros, that's nothing to Chelsea. So for me, I would get this one done. I don't know much about him. I couldn't find very many stats. But for me, I don't know how you would just let this one go when you have potentially a very young keeper for the future coming through the academy. Then I'm sure that's where he'd be working, or out on loan, whatever it'd be. This would be a very silly move by Chelsea. Well, that's going to be the end of the video, guys. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like on it, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on a future video. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.